All right, we're going to call the Building Advisory Board for the City of Salina to order. We'll start with roll call, starting on my right.
David Miller.
David Holmgren.
Kevin Cool.
Mike McCall.
William McBride.
Scott Kraus.
Request the staff confirmation that the Kansas Open Act notice was provided.
I confirm packet was posted and required notice of the meeting was provided.
Thank you. Approval of the meeting minutes. I have a motion.
I move we approve.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. New business, public hearing items. Quasi judicial matters. Is that just the statement we need, or we need to?
No, you don't have to say that. It's just a definition there.
Okay.
There isn't any quasi-judicial matters.
Okay. Legislative matters. Proposed
right.
text amendment for contractor licensing.
Okay. I got a staff report here if you guys all want to refer to that for item 3.2. A little bit of background on this. April 9th of 2007, City Commission adopted ordinance number 06-10-10323 requiring the licensing of building contractors, especially contractors and registered craftsmen. These requirements are found in Chapter 8, Article 3, Sections 8-171 through 8-200.4 of the Salina Municipal Code. The ordinance establishes licensing categories, testing requirements, insurance requirements, and continuing education requirements, as well as enforcement, discipline, expiration, and renewal of a license. The Building Advisory Board played an active role in making the final recommendations to the City Commission following BAB public meetings and study sessions over a period of time, beginning spring of 2005 and concluding fall of 2006. The enclosed exhibit shows section 8-172.1, chart 1, and that is the chart that I'm proposing to get amended. And it shows continuing education requirements for all the building contractors and what work each one can perform. Class A, B, C, and D contractors, and also includes specialty contractors listed out, such as concrete framer, erector, roofing, masonry, fire sprinkler, fire alarm communications, demolition, sign, right-of-way, and swimming pool. These contractors are not required to get continuing education credits. Also goes over the proof of liability insurance required. And then a test or degree is required to obtain each of those licenses and specialty contractor licenses. Specific tests are required are shown in Exhibit A. A minimum score of 75% is required to be considered a passing score. Moving on to the current problem, why we're talking about this today. Prometric is the testing agency that the City of Salina refers contractors to in order to take construction exams not offered by the International Code Council, or ICC. Currently, those tests are framers or erectors, masonry, demolition, swimming pool, and lawn and landscape irrigation. Those were all ones that were provided by Prometric and that ICC does not have a test for. As of August 1, 2021, Prometric no longer provides any construction testing of any type. All of the no longer available tests that are all of the no longer available tests are for license types that can be done by A, B, and C contractors except for swimming pool and lawn and landscape irrigation. If you look on this 8-172 chart that I gave you, you can see not the one that says draft across it, but the second one that's kind of the same thing, but it shows that Class A, B, or C contractors can do any of the trades work, and then it says except for swimming pools, fire alarm and communication systems, fire sprinkler systems, and/or lawn landscape irrigation systems, and hood and spray booth suppression systems. So Class A, B, C contractors can do any of the other stuff except for the ones listed there. The table, let's see, the table below in the staff report here shows how surrounding communities that have contractor licensing are handling the lack of testing options. Kansas State Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Contractors, or KPHCC, provides an exam created by K-State for lawn and landscape irrigation, and irrigation.org offers a class and a test to be a certified irrigation designer. Some other communities let licensed plumbing contractors do it. As you can see the table below, Hayes lets plumbers do landscape irrigation. Wichita requires the KPHCC test. Topeka, the irrigation.org test. Manhattan also lets licensed plumbing contractors do the irrigation work. And that's something that we can talk about today, moving forward, if we want to use one of these other tests to license new lawn landscape irrigation contractors, or do we want to allow plumbing contractors to do that work, or how we want to move forward from there. For swimming pool contractors, other communities allow Class A, B, and C contractors to install swimming pools and do not require special testing, partly because there is no test readily available, and because the skills needed are similar to construction requirements. Now, this doesn't include, like it does now, if you pull a permit to put in a swimming pool, that doesn't include, the pool contractor can't do the related electrical work. And so when we talk about putting in a pool and being able to apply for said permit, it means just putting the pool in the ground, associated plumbing around with it. The electrician would still need to do the required bonding and electrical work and everything else that goes in with a pool. I kind of covered that there. Currently, there are no other testing options available for framers, erectors, masonry, or demolition contractors, but these types of specialty disciplines can legally be done by ABC contractors currently written in the Salina Municipal Code. These types of licenses can be obtained by a related degree. If new specialty contractors come to Salina to apply for the license, they will need to either provide certification of passage of an ABC contractor test provided by ICC, or the proof of a related degree, since we don't currently have a test for them, since Prometric doesn't offer it. Current holders of these types of specialty contractor license who took the Prometric test can maintain their licensure. That doesn't mean their license goes away or anything. They still took the test, and they don't require continuing education. Staff has prepared Salina Municipal Code Chapter 8 code amendments for review that would allow A, B, and C contractors to install swimming pools, basically just deleting out swimming pools, and so that means that they can do it on the table here on 8-172 chart 1. So we have that before us today, and also we kind of need to discuss a little bit more about the other lack of testing options for the other trades that I mentioned before, the framers, erectors, masonry, demolition contractors, and so forth. So with that, I'd open it up for discussion, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
So really, the only thing we're really changing is just the fact that the contractors will now be allowed to do swimming pools is what we're.
Correct.
really what
That's
this
the
amendment is.
code amendment.
Right.
The other stuff about what tests we require, so on and so forth, like for the irrigation contractors, if we want to say that the KPHCC test or the irrigation.org test is okay too, or do you want to also further amend the code and say plumbing contractors can do it?
Can't plumbing contractors do that now?
No. Plumbing contractors can put in the backflow preventers for said systems, but they can't install said systems.
Refresh my memory on what we did on that before we did anything. The irrigation people could come in from anywhere and just do it, right? And didn't we
Yes.
and we amended the code where they have to
They have to
be
take-
licensed?
be licensed, take their own test. It doesn't require any continuing education, but we did have them take the Prometric test.
Which is not available now?
It's
or-
not available. They don't offer any construction exams whatsoever.
Prometric doesn't, or just,
Prometric doesn't.
are there other options for?
For lawn and landscape irrigation, yes, there is. There's the one that, it's K-State actually made the test, but Kansas Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Contractors, they're down in Wichita, KPHCC, they're the ones that actually provide the test.
So that test is a different test than the irrigation.org test, or is it the same test?
They're two different tests, but they're similar in nature.
Similar.
They both kind of accomplish the same thing.
Well, I, for one, would like to still see a test for the irrigation contractors. And since this other test isn't available, and I don't know if we need more information on the Kansas State test. I just don't know what it,
I mean, I've looked at the overview they have for both of them. I haven't seen actual tests, but they're both similar in nature and similar
will
to
accomplish the same thing,
the other.
basically.
So, I mean, if you guys are okay with that, then I will just leave it the same way it is, other than we'll just refer them to these two testing sites as opposed to letting plumbing contractors do it. We still want a separate test for the lawn irrigation
So
contractor.
there's no action required on that item.
No. And unless you want to say that plumbing contractors can do it, then that requires a code change.
So am I hearing you correctly, the original lawn and landscaping test was only Prometric, or was it any type of test?
Before, that was the only one we accepted. And honestly, people would ask what test to take, and we would say that one. Nobody ever came to me and said, well, I took this KPHCC test, will that be, I mean, there's only been a handful of them that have taken it anyway. And so, yeah, those just were never an option before because, we never told them to take any test. I mean, any other test besides the
Right.
Prometric one.
So it sounds to me like if that was the only one authorized and it's no longer available, then you currently have no ability to get a license for lawn and irrigation.
Correct, unless we say then we can refer them to the KPHCC
So
board.
I guess my point is some action has to occur because you're in a conundrum. You can't get the license without the current IC or
Right.
Prometric test.
But that
But we can alter
doesn't
that.
necessarily require a code change or anything. If, basically, the question was, do we want to accept these other two tests, which are equivalent to the one we were been giving him, or do we want to do like some other communities in the state and just say, well, plumbing contractors can do it?
Okay. So So it does, what you're saying is it does not require a code change to change the testing
No.
option?
No,
You can just do that
Yes.
administratively?
yes.
Okay.
So if we allowed the plumbers to do the irrigation, would they have to take the irrigation test first?
No.
Or would they just be grandfathered in? And if that's the case, I want them to take the irrigation test too. I mean, because that teaches them how to lay out the
Right, well,
system
that
and make
wouldn't be.
everything right.
Yeah, that wouldn't be any change at all then, because that's two separate licenses. If a plumber wants to do irrigation, they'd have to take the irrigation test.
And I like that.
Okay,
I think it needs to stay separate as well.
okay. So just change the testing options.
Change
and
the testing
move forward.
options is what my recommendation would be too.
Okay. Okay, that part doesn't necessarily require a motion. It was just kind of a discussion item, but what does require a motion is about the swimming pool contractors, if we want to allow A, B, and C contractors to install swimming pools.
So I make a motion that we accept the draft ordinance removing the swimming pool exceptions for contractors class A, B, and C. Did you also have that for D?
Yeah, well, we don't have any, we don't have any D contractors, so I didn't write that in there, but yeah, it would apply to, actually, no, it wouldn't apply, because D is only, it
Yeah,
wouldn't
they
apply. to
didn't
D.
have that, I didn't think. So
Yeah,
A, B, and C. Remove the exception for swimming pools.
I would second that motion.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
okay. Also on, kind of on that same line, there was the other ones that, not lawn irrigation or swimming pool, but there was the framers, erectors, masonry, demolition contractors. These don't have a test option at all. However, they're already allowed for ABC contractors to do that. However, if someone comes to Salina, and like I kind of covered in the staff report, if someone comes to Salina and wants to be a demolition contractor, they're either going to have to pass the ABC license or have a related degree. There's no demolition contractor test anymore. Now, it could come to a point where, one of these agencies, ICC maybe, sees, well, there's money to be made here, let's whip one of these up, but currently there is none. So you'd have to be an A, B, or C contractor in order to, if you want to just demolish properties or structures or whatever. So, I mean, we currently have, demolition contractors in town, and their license would still be current, accurate, or they wouldn't get revoked, but that's kind of in the state we're in right now. There's also been, some talk about, optionally maybe just having those listed contractors as just registered contractors and don't require a test, since we don't have one. And just make them like our handyman license or whatever. You just have to prove you're insured, and there's no test. So that's something that we need to maybe talk about too. I think this amendment here is going to go before the commission on the 3rd, I believe, because we wanted to get through this meeting first and get you guys' input and recommendations first, but that might come up as well, so I didn't know what you guys' thoughts were on those other types of disciplines that don't have tests either.
I mean, personally, for framing and erecting, that's an important part of the A, B, or C contractor's license. Demolition, I don't worry about it if the entire structure's going, but if you're trying to do a partial demolition, you need to understand what you're taking down and how it affects the remainder of the building, so
Right.
I worry a little bit about that part of it. Masonry, I think that's in A, B, and C as well, so.
Okay. So you guys would be in favor of not changing the code on that either, and just leaving it currently until there's another test available for those specialty contractor licenses to just remain as currently licensed contractors and ABC contractors.
And maybe you already talked about this, but what are you seeing out there as the possibility of new tests coming in?
The closest one I have, honestly, is swimming pools. There might be another one on the PSI. I don't know if you guys have heard of that testing agency, but they do some construction testing, and I think that they're pretty close to having one for swimming pool, but as of this point, not yet. But I haven't heard about the other disciplines.
The other thing, you said you require that they have the insurance. Are the insurance companies going to look at these people pretty hard before they insure them? Is that any kind of an assurance that you're going to get a competent contractor? I mean, all kinds of things can happen.
Yeah, I really couldn't tell you. I'm not sure what they what they look at as far as competency of contractors and whatnot, if they require any sort of licensure in order to be insured, or I'm not sure.
Well, from my standpoint, I hate to see somebody from out of town to come in here and not have the same credentials as our locals. And so we really need to stay away from that and make sure. So I probably don't have any choice right now, I think, but to stay, with the ABC contractors to.
And you could still, if you have a related degree, you don't necessarily have to get a Class A, B, or C contractor license. You could still, if you wanted to be a demo contractor and you had somebody in your employ who had a construction science degree per se,
Okay.
then you could still get a demolition contractor license but.
Well, and the other part of it is, if a framer comes in or a mason comes in, they can work under the general's license. I mean, they can sub out to whomever.
Yeah, if they're under a general, yes,
So you're still getting the coverage from the general contractor.
right. The only time, it wouldn't always be that case, though, where you need a framer or erector license, like if you're coming in and you're building a shelter at the park or something like that, or maybe it's just the framer erector that's, doing said work. It's not, or something, smaller like that it's only that part of the work that's there. So. And then, of course, in, demolition, it might be a total structure, but you might be tearing down a two-story house that's only, 15 feet from another house, and you want to make sure somebody knows what they're doing there too, so. Anyway, okay, so we've passed that, and I guess we can move on to the next item.
Administrative items, new foundation design.
All right. Recently, this is item 3.3.1. A little bit of background here. In 2010, the City of Salina, in conjunction with Pete Earls Engineering, created a residential basement foundation standard design that could be used in most areas of the city located outside of 1,000 feet from the flood control levee. This design was somewhat over-engineered so that it would comply with the International Residential Code for most areas inside the city. This kind of alleviated each house from, getting engineering for their own basement design. This would alleviate the need for residential contractors to acquire their own engineering for basement designs. The design included extra steel and buttresses that were not required in all areas of town, but since they were needed in some areas in town, they were included in the standard design. So that's why we were saying it's a little bit over-engineered. All the bells and whistles on it aren't needed everywhere, but they wanted something that worked everywhere, so that's what we come up with. In November of this year, a local contractor contacted Earls Engineering and had Pete Earls design a basement foundation design that could be used for most areas of the town that was potentially less expensive but still conforming to the IRC. After reviewing the design and getting permission from the contractor and the engineer, staff has updated BLF 274 to include the new drawing in our standard design. The new standard design included in your packet will have two options, A and B, that contractors may choose from depending on their project location and needs. The new standard will be included on all newly issued permits and can be issued immediately for new or existing permits. Anyone who would like a copy of this may obtain a paper copy from our office or via email. There's no action required from you guys on this. I just wanted you to be aware of kind of what we were doing here with this. If you want to kind of look over this a little bit, the design A is the newer design. It's got a little bit less steel in it. It also does not have buttresses on the foundation walls on the back side, and it can only be used if your basement walls are 8 feet or less. So if you have a deeper basement, then you're going to have to go with design B, which is the original one. It's got a little bit more steel and buttresses and so on and so forth in it. Or if you're inside, if you're within 1,000 feet of the dike, then you'll have to use the other one. But anyway, just wanted to kind of keep you guys abreast of what was going on. You can read over this new design at your leisure. If anybody watching on TV or anything wants a copy, like I said, you can get this new handout from our office.
I know we had discussion previously about this perforated pipe drain around the foundation, about whether that ought to go inside under the slab. And I know the discussion before was, and I've got this where I live, you get groundwater coming up, it's going to be up above your slab before it ever hits the drain.
Right.
And we talked about that ought to be, or could be, underneath that slab. Now, I'll defer to the experts, but.
And most of the time, it is installed inside.
And that's an option.
Yeah.
They can still do that.
It says optional. It is required, one or the other. Usually, they always put it inside because the radon mitigation system is also required, and they.
Well,
put
that
it
makes
around.
sense to me, but they don't
Yeah.
show that. I mean, this is confusing here that they show it outside and call it optional.
Right. I think he should have put optional inside or outside.
Right, and showed
but not
both
not-
options.
yeah. And that's something we'll definitely have to watch in the field. I can't change this because that's not my name on there, but
But he can change it.
yeah, he could.
And you
But
paid him to do it, so.
yeah, well, somebody did.
Somebody, okay.
The-
Anyway,
the
I'd
other-
like to
yeah.
see him change
Yeah.
it and stamp it.
That's correct. But the optional means inside or outside. Yeah, but you're right. It's a little bit confusing. the
Well,
way he has
would
it.
certainly be argued by somebody that,
Yeah.
well, no, it says right here.
So would the optional on that mean optional whether you have it or not? I mean, I wouldn't not put it, but I
It's
mean, could you read it that way?
You certainly.
it is optional either inside or outside. In some cases, it's both. If you're within 500 feet of the dike, you have to have both. But it's either inside or outside. It is required. So yeah, the optional is a little bit confusing there, and I understand where you guys are coming from there.
So is this an action item, or
No.
is it something you
No.
would go back and talk to him about changing?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
how do you proceed here?
I can go back and talk to him about getting that updated, just so it's more clear. See what we can do about that, but yeah, no, this isn't an action item. I was just kind of letting you know what's new
Well, I'm
in
glad you
in the department and whatnot. So, but yes, I can definitely talk with Mr. Earls about clarifying that. But anyway, unless you guys have any other questions on that, that's all I had for that item.
Okay. Next item, 3.3.2, residential all rough-in inspections.
Okay. A little background, back in 2015, Building Services initiated a policy for residential all roughs inspection in order to save trips to the job site for inspectors and for general contractors to have more insight regarding the progress of their projects. This policy required that all subcontractors working on the job report to the general when their work was completed, and the general would call for an inspection. It was intended under the policy that all rough inspection would include electrical, mechanical, gas piping, plumbing, framing, and radon. Recently, staff has heard from the building community that framing should be removed from the all roughs list. This change would address issues with the framing contractor because often they have completed their work and moved on to another job by the time the other trades have finished their work. And builders have noted that it is difficult to get the framers back on site for any corrections if needed. In order to help with this issue, staff has separated the framing inspection from the all roughs inspection and will make it a separate inspection under the following conditions. All roughs will include plumbing, mechanical, electrical, and radon only. Framing, and gas would be included in there too with the plumbing. Framing will be a separate inspection and will need to have a separate be requested prior to or at the same time as the all roughs if they wait that long and their framer's still around. But it is a separate inspection. No siding or house wrap may be installed prior to the framing inspection. House wrap inspection needs to be requested after the framing inspection and prior to any siding installation. Corrections that may be needed to the framing that are caused by the PME contractors after the framing inspection will need to be addressed by the framing contractor. Again, this is informational only, and you don't need any action. Just trying to give you guys a heads up on what's going on in the field. Does anybody have any questions about this new policy? Attached is a memo that I sent out to all the licensed contractors in town, and then behind that is the new policy summary, which in the policy, all I did was strike out framing from the all rough inspection types. The memo is similar to what my staff report was I just read, but just kind of let contractors know that framing will be separate from now on. We're just trying to be helpful to the contractor, house builders mainly, community, because they were having some problems with framing inspections that would get done. One, it talked about there, the framers weren't there anymore because they had to wait for the PME guys to get done with the project before they could call us. And two, a lot of times we'd get out there and we'd have framing inspections. A lot of it might be blocking or wall bracing or things like that. That's pretty hard to correct after the siding's on. You got to peel siding back off. And so we're trying to help out with that and not make it so difficult if there is problems. And so that's the new policy. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any of them.
All right. Questions on that one? Number 4, unfinished or other business. We have nothing listed. Do you have anything that you can think of, Sean?
No, sir.
Good. Public forum, do we have anybody in the public that would like to address the board today? Seeing none, we'll move on for adjournment.
I move we adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed?